I've heard about the legend because we've come and visited the tree from time to time as well.
I do, yes. Do you want me to tell you all about it?
I know there was something interesting about the tree, but I didn't know what it was. So.
The legend started, well, I think, around about 1840 to 1845. You've got to set the scene a bit. If you have a look down there, you imagine he's coming back from the races. It's dusk, it's cold, it's wet. He's coming up this driveway between 4 and 6 horses towing his carriage. Some people say it was a witch, some people say it was a gypsy. Basically, they step out in front of the carriage and stop the carriage. Very annoyance to the 16th Earl himself. He was actually called the Good Earl Shrewsbury. He's got a very good reputation looking after his staff and things like that. But he was obviously, I think he probably lost the races that day because he wasn't in a very good mood. He tells this witch, this gypsy, to get out of the way, and she puts a curse on him. And then bear in mind this is now 200 years ago, so the curse was put on the tree for every bough that falls off the tree. One of the members of the family would die. And just after that, probably 4 or 5 weeks after that, there came a storm, and one of the boughs fell off the tree. And then legend has it his 4-month-old son and heir to the Shrewsbury family actually passed away. So it was actually the lady, the Earl's wife, that had the chains put up and chained up right up to this day. It's still chained up now, till about 7 years ago when it started to sort of decay. It dates back for that long. I mean, the Towers itself, at the time, was one of the biggest estates in Europe. It's got, it goes back there's that much history belonging to the estate. It's unbelievable. And the village itself. And you've got 11th century castle in Alton. The Towers itself is a 17th century hunting lodge. So it comes with an awful lot of history, as well as the tree itself. Ghost stories themselves, paranormal. I mean, the Towers has had no end of people coming looking for, ghosts. Ghost hunters have been up, Ghostbusters have been up. There's certainly stories about certain ghosts at the Towers and down here again. It's a very spooky place at night time. And we certainly get, I've certainly seen some white witches and people like that down here and on the summer solstice and things like that. But they do worship the oak tree, obviously. And this oak tree in particular is, well over 1,000 years old and comes with a lot of history itself. And you can see from behind me how it's going back to the legend itself, where it's all still chained up to this day. And you see the steps coming back up here. Now there's several reasons people think the steps are there. One goes back to, some people think it was an hanging tree. But I personally think it was always been very popular with all sorts of different people. In the Victorian days, the steps were actually put in so the Victorians could actually see this. And it was part of my brief at the time when X was first put in, I think 2000. They were after horror stories. They wanted a new ride to put into the Towers. The marketing director at the time actually gave me a call and said, do we know any stories? And of course there's no end of different stories belonging to the Towers, but this was the one that went to print, and this is the one that sort of made the headlines at the time. It's based on obviously a legend. If you can have a true legend, I don't think you can get much different than what you've got today. Some of the story is then fabricated on purpose, finding the branch and taking up into the Towers is fabrication, but everything you've heard up to now is perfectly true. If you can have a true legend, that's what you've got. But the room it's in at the Towers, the X is built in a little tin shed just off what they call the main entrance. And the main entrance back in 1820, 1840 was the armoury. Now again, that is supposed to be haunted all the way through. and so's the further down where the big gift shop is, that one's haunted as well. The main steps as you will go into the main entrance to Alton Towers where a 1920s party goer passed away and is supposed to haunt that. So there's quite a lot of different sort of history to Alton Towers.
I'm Alan Ratcliffe. I live here, Oak Hill Close in Teen, with all the oaks behind me. And I was born in Alton. This from an acorn in 1998 roughly. My father-in-law picked the acorns, several of them, and potted them all up and put them in the greenhouse. And only one grew, because acorns are quite difficult to grow. So the one which grew, we planted it here, and this is it now. It's about 12 foot tall. 2016 now, so we planted about 2003, so it's come on well. The leaves are still on because it's a young tree, and young trees keep hold of the leaves longer than the older. When it gets older, it'll drop them sooner, so that's something. And like I say, it's a son of the chained oak. It can be DNA tested. It was picked from underneath the chained oak in about 1998, end of 99. And my dad Malcolm Ratcliffe, used to take me for walks. And as soon as I could walk far enough, we'd go up Farley, up to Cotton, and then we'd go down by the chained oak. And actually I feel guilty because all my life I've known that tree. I've grown up with the tree. I've seen it when it's strong, and now it's falling to pieces. And it's a shame because all of us are guilty of ignoring that tree. We've walked past it, we've seen it, we've taken it for granted, and yet it's so much history behind it. It is spooky when you go up there at night, which is probably the same anywhere in the dark, but when you hear the chains rattling, and legend has it that people have been sacrificed under that tree. You know, the pagans have gone dancing around it at certain times of the year, and people do go up there and do certain things up on the tree. And lots of things happen under that tree because of the chains, and so there's not, you know, I was spooked, not spooked by the tree, but I've felt spooky going up there at night time, and you're a bit wary like you would do with going anywhere in the dark patch, but up that part, particular part by the chained oak, you do get some, if the chains rattle, you do start thinking, okay, I'm going now, you know, time to go. It's a grand tree, it's a famous tree. I mean, literally millions of people know about it now, but not enough people know about it. In fact, you know, it's more as famous as Alton Towers, or even, it's been going longer than Alton Towers. Well, it was there before Alton Towers, before the early Shrewsbury, so there's more history to that tree than there is to Alton Towers itself, because he changed it up. That's where the legend starts, you know. Yeah.
Well, these things don't come from nowhere. I mean, obviously it's 200 years old, this legend now, and it's still as strong today as it was 200 years ago. Probably stronger, actually.
Now that tree is dying, and the son of the chained oak is here in my garden, so I'm not going to chain it up. But I do actually need, I've been told, to cut the branches off the bottom, because it won't grow properly, and I don't do that. I don't know why, but chopping the branches off just ain't a good idea. So if you've got any volunteers want to chop that branch off at the bottom so it'll grow properly, they can do, but I'm not going to touch it. I don't want to die. Not yet.
The thing people really don't understand is the tree itself, and more to the point, the actual story is documented right into about 1845.
I say the early Shrewsbury must have been really, really scared of something about that. Something must have happened, like the old lady, it must have been true, something to scare him to spend money to chain that tree up. And that's what I say. It doesn't matter what the legend is, because there's lots of variations on the legend of the tree, but the one I like, you know, everybody's got a favourite one, and that's my favourite. And I go with the fact that it doesn't matter what reason, there must have been a really good reason that the early Shrewsbury was scared of that, whatever, to go and get that waste money chaining a tree up, a random tree. Why else would he do it?
And people, you know, believe these things. You've got, certainly 200 years ago they would have believed it. And I think as a legend, it's got, you know, it's pretty well documented through the years that things have been seen down here. And even, you know, when you're talking about Premier of England, the Shrewsburys were, they weren't fools. These were very, very, very wealthy people. So to have it just, you know, they wouldn't have had it chained up for nothing.
The whole myth thing seems a bit kind of made up, but then obviously you see the tree in real life and it is all chained up. So it does make it a bit more realistic.
Maybe a true story, because if you go just about a quarter mile from here up the walk towards Alton, there is an oak tree which has got chains on it, and a lot of the branches have fallen. It's very, very old, so it could well be a true story.
I mean, I've got a bit of a mathematical background, I tend to think these things are a bit of probability, but there could be something in it.
Probably based on some truth, I should imagine. I should imagine perhaps somebody did die after, you know, and the story got like legends do, it got built up bit by bit.
I'm sure it was chained. I'm sure it was chained because of superstition, if that's what the Earl
I don't
believed.
think there were any health and safety regulations around those times.